All right, so now we are going to begin painting. We're going to start with one square at a time. And remember, we are using complementary colors. So within each square, you will have two colors that are complementary, and you can, have different shades of each color, but you're really only going to have two colors. So for example, I could have blue and orange. I might have light blue, light orange, dark orange, but I'm still only having blue and orange. So the easiest way I think to do that is to have one color in the background and then another color on the object. You're going to need your paint brushes, a little dish of water, which I have right here, somewhere to put your paint. You can use a plate, a paper plate. I like to use this old Tupperware lid, just because it's really easy to wash off. Or if you have a paint palette at home, it might look something like this. Mine's a little dirty, so I'm going to stick with using my Tupperware lid. Again, since I know I'm using complementary colors, I'm only going to use two colors at a time. And for my first square, I think I'm going to do red and green, just because my object is red. So, you do not have to paint, and for the rest of the squares, the object will not be red. So you do not have to paint the actual color of the object, but I think I'm going to do that just for fun. So I'm going to get my red paint and my green paint, as well as some white paint, just because I know I'm going to need to make this piece of wire on my object a different color, a different shade of red, I should say, than the body of my object. So I'm going to get out my brushes. I have three different sizes here. I probably won't use the biggest one. These are really glued in there. So I probably won't use my biggest one. So I'm going to get my small brush and my medium brush. And again, I need some water. And you might also want to get a paper towel. Your paint might be closed still if you haven't used it yet. So the way to open your paint, you take the lid off and you see it has a little foil thing here that prevents the paint from leaking out. In the top of the lid, there's a little pointy thing. All you have to do is take the lid off, flip it over, and use that pointy thing to puncture the foil, and then you'll be able to get the paint out. I use just a little dot of paint at a time, because this isn't that much paint and we will need it for future projects. And I usually use like maybe an M&M size worth of paint at a time, because I can always get more out later, and it's, you can't really put it back in these little tubes. So again, I'm starting with red and green. Red and green are complementary because they are across from each other on the color wheel. And I'm going to start with the red. I'm going to paint my object in with the red. And you can add highlights and shadows as you go, like if you've painted before and you're comfortable with that, you can. But I generally, for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm gonna wait and do the highlights and shadows after I paint everything in and it's a little bit dry. remember, you can always get more paint later. You can see I'm already running low on my red paint, but that's okay because I can always get more. I can't put it back in after it's been removed from the tube. So I would advise you, even if you know you'll probably need more like I did, I would advise you not to use more than like an M&M's worth of paint at a time, just because you don't want to waste it, because like I said, you will use paint in future projects and I don't want you guys to run out. So we're doing our best to stay inside the lines of our drawing. And if you make a mistake, that's okay, because we will be painting the background too. So, and the green might be dark enough to cover up the red if I make a mistake, so we're all good. If I were using, say, purple and yellow, I might want to do my object in yellow so that my background will be darker in case I make a mistake and paint outside the lines. So you can see I ran out of red paint, so I'm going to do just a little dot more. I'm not going to do a full M&M size dot. Maybe this is like the size of a pea. Use that to finish painting in. And like I said, we're keeping one color inside the object and one color in the background. So you'll notice that the coil, I'm trying to leave it blank right now. I will go in with a smaller brush and try to paint it like a light red, which is pink. Okay, so now I'm going to take my brush and rinse it off in the water. I'm going to use my small brush here. I like to get my brush damp before I put it in the paint. And I'm going to take some white and mix it on the perimeter of this red, just to try to get a nice pink color, because the silver on here is shiny, so it's highlighted, so I want to make it like a light red, which like I said is pink. And this does not have to be perfect, because we will go in later, add some highlights and shadows, but right now we are just painting in the majority of our colors. Okay, so we have our clip and our spring painted, and now we're going to start on the background, which again we're using complementary colors. So the background is going to be green here. And I'm using my small brush because I know I'm going to have to get into some smaller spaces. There's really no, this green has a bluish tint to it on the camera, but you can see here it is the green paint. It looks green in person. So anyway, there really isn't a wrong brush to use. It's just whatever you feel comfortable using. So if you want to use the small brush for your whole painting, that's totally fine. If you like the big brush, that is fine as well. And again, we're painting the background green because that is red's complement, and this is green. But unfortunately, the camera is making it look a little bit blue. But please keep in mind, red and green are complementary colors. Getting some more green paint. Red and green go really good together. Always makes me think of like a watermelon or a rose. Oops. And then this part is where it starts to get a little tricky because I know I'm gonna have to paint in a small area. Again, it does not have to be perfect. Just do your best. And you can see I am like dunking my paintbrush. Oop, made a mistake. Dunking my paintbrush in the water sometimes. I like to do that just so that my paint is easier to spread. You have to be careful though, because sometimes if you do that too much, it makes the paint thin. Okay, so just a little bit left to do. And then we will be done with the first square. All right. So I'm going to take some red paint now if I have any left. And just maybe try to go into that white spot that I missed. And we are done with the first square.